Sign the papers, Olivia!
I'm not signing anything!
You don't get to say no in this house. Take the money, sign the divorce papers, and disappear from my son's life before sunrise.
What have I done to deserve this?
You existed.
I've been a faithful wife.
A faithful wife? You call hiding inside this mansion for 3 years a marriage?
Adrian promised me things would change.
My son made a lot of promises. But tonight, I'll show you the truth.
And here comes billionaire Adrian Blackwood, the country's most eligible bachelor.
Mr. Blackwood, when are you finally getting married?
I'm still waiting for the right woman.
No. This can't be. He wasn't protecting me.
He was protecting his reputation.
He loves me.
My son may love your heart, but every time he looks at your body, he remembers why he keeps you hidden.
You're lying.
My son is ashamed of his fat wife.
Mother, what is all this?
I've solved your biggest mistake.
Adrian, tell me she's lying.
Please.
Look at me. You've always told me to trust you. So look me in the eyes and tell me none of this is true.
I never wanted things to happen this way. But maybe this is what's best.
What's best?
What is this?
I'm pregnant.
You're pregnant?
I imagined tonight we would finally become a real family.
No, if she has that baby, your career is finished.
Mother!
You know exactly yours. They'll ask why. They'll call you a fraud. They'll destroy your reputation. They'll disfamily. So choose your future or her.
I never wanted things to happen this way. But maybe this is what's best. The company is about to complete the biggest merger in its history.
This conversation is over.
Without another word, she walked toward the front door. Rain poured heavily outside. Adrian finally looked up. Olivia. She stopped. For one impossible second, he thought she might turn around. Instead, she spoke without facing him. I hope one day, you meet a woman you're proud to stand beside. She stepped into the storm. The massive iron gates slowly closed behind her. Adrian stood frozen. The tiny white box containing the baby's shoes was still sitting on the dining table. He stared at it. Something inside him screamed to run after her. But he didn't move. The rain showed no mercy. Olivia hugged her coat tightly around herself as she walked down the empty road, dragging her small suitcase through puddles. Every step felt heavier than the last, but it wasn't because of the rain. It was because of the tiny life growing inside her. She rested a hand over her stomach. "I'm sorry," she whispered through tears. "I couldn't give you the family I dreamed of." A car sped past, splashing muddy water onto her dress. She didn't react. Nothing could hurt more than what she had already endured. Then, screech. A deafening sound cut through the storm. A black luxury SUV lost control around the bend, smashed through a guardrail, and flipped onto its side before crashing into a large tree. The impact shook the ground. For a moment, everything became still. Then smoke began pouring from the engine. Drivers slowed down. Some stepped out. Instead of helping, several people pulled out their phones. "Oh my God, someone call an ambulance. I'm recording this." Olivia looked around in disbelief. Why is nobody helping? One man shrugged. The car could explode. Another woman shook her head. "It's too dangerous." Olivia looked toward the wreckage. A weak voice cried from inside. "Help!" Without thinking twice, she dropped her suitcase and ran. "Ma'am," someone shouted. "Don't go over there." She ignored them. The driver's door was crushed shut. She ran to the passenger side and pulled with all her strength. It wouldn't move. She looked through the shattered window. An elegant elderly woman was trapped inside, blood running down her forehead. Their eyes met. "Please," the woman whispered. Olivia grabbed a large rock and smashed the remaining glass. She reached inside carefully. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'm here." The woman winced in pain. "My leg." Olivia looked down. The woman's leg was pinned beneath twisted metal. Smoke grew thicker. Flames flickered beneath the hood. Olivia's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She braced herself and pushed against the damaged frame with everything she had. Nothing happened. Again. Still nothing. Come on, she gasped. With one final desperate effort, the metal shifted just enough. The woman's leg came free. I've got you. Olivia wrapped one arm around her and slowly pulled her from the vehicle. The moment they reached a safe distance. Boom. The SUV burst into flames. Heat washed over them. People screamed. An ambulance siren echoed in the distance. The elderly woman reached for Olivia's hand. You? She struggled to breathe. You saved me. Olivia smiled weakly. I'm just glad you're alive. Everything went black. When Olivia opened her eyes again, she found herself in a hospital bed. A nurse noticed immediately. You're awake. What happened? You fainted from exhaustion. The nurse smiled. And congratulations. Olivia looked confused. Congratulations? You and your baby are fine. Relief flooded her face. She instinctively placed both hands over her stomach. Thank God. Just then, there was a gentle knock. An older gentleman entered the room wearing a tailored suit. Behind him stood 2 security officers. He bowed politely. Mrs. Hart. Olivia nodded cautiously. My name is Samuel Rhodes. I serve as personal advisor to Mrs. Eleanor Ashford. Olivia frowned. I'm sorry. I don't know her. You do. He smiled gently. She's the woman whose life you saved. Olivia looked surprised. Is she all right? She insisted on seeing you. A few minutes later, Samuel wheeled an elderly woman into the room. She looked far stronger than before despite the bandage on her forehead. Her eyes were kind. So, she smiled warmly. You're the brave young lady who ignored everyone else. Olivia stood respectfully. You shouldn't be standing. Eleanor laughed. I've survived boardrooms for 40 years. I can survive a bruised leg. Both women smiled for the first time that day. Eleanor studied Olivia carefully. There was something unusual about her. No designer clothes. No expensive jewelry. No makeup. Yet despite swollen eyes from crying, she carried herself with quiet grace. You never asked who I was. Olivia shook her head. It didn't matter. And you never asked for money. I didn't help you for money. Eleanor tilted her head. Then why? Olivia answered without hesitation. Because if my mother had been trapped in that car. She paused. I would have prayed someone helped her. Silence filled the room. Samuel glanced at Eleanor. He had worked beside her for nearly 30 years. Very few people ever spoke to her without expecting something in return. Eleanor finally smiled. What do you do for a living? Olivia hesitated. She forced a smile. I used to help my husband. You used to? We divorced tonight. The room became quiet again. Eleanor noticed the suitcase beside the hospital bed. Just one suitcase. Nothing else. You have somewhere to stay? Olivia lowered her eyes. I'll figure something out. Samuel looked uncomfortable. Eleanor. She raised a hand, stopping him. Then she looked back at Olivia. And the baby's father? Olivia swallowed. He made his choice. I'll make mine. Eleanor nodded slowly. I see. After another moment, she spoke. I built one of the largest companies in this country. I've negotiated billion-dollar contracts. I've met presidents. I've met royalty. But do you know what I've learned? Olivia shook her head. The rarest people in the world. She smiled. Are genuinely kind. Tears formed again in Olivia's eyes. She wasn't used to kindness. Not anymore. Eleanor reached into her handbag and removed a business card. I have a proposal. Olivia looked confused. I don't want to insult you by offering charity. So I won't. She placed the card on the bedside table. I'd like to offer you a position. Olivia blinked. A job? A fresh start. Samuel added with a smile. Mrs. Ashford never offers second chances. Only first-class opportunities. Olivia looked overwhelmed. But you barely know me. Eleanor chuckled. I know enough. I know you risked your life for a complete stranger. I know you refused to take money from someone who hurt you. And I know your child deserves a mother who isn't worrying about where she'll sleep. Olivia couldn't hold back anymore. She covered her face and cried. Not from heartbreak this time. From relief. Eleanor reached over and gently squeezed her hand. You've spent too long being treated as though your worth depended on how you looked. She smiled. From today onward, it will depend on what you can become. Olivia looked up. Hope, something she thought she'd lost forever, began quietly returning. She nodded. I'll work hard. I promise. Eleanor smiled. I wasn't looking for perfection. I was looking for courage. And I think I found it in the middle of a rainstorm. As Olivia left the hospital with Eleanor later that day, she didn't realize she was walking toward a future she had never imagined. She had left the Blackwood mansion believing her life was over. She had no idea it was only just beginning. If you're enjoying Olivia's journey so far, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments. Do you think Adrian will regret choosing his reputation over the woman who truly loved him? The biggest twists are still ahead. 7 years passed faster than anyone could have imagined. Olivia never forgot the night she walked away from the Blackwood mansion with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart. But she also refused to let that night define the rest of her life. Under Eleanor Ashford's guidance, she learned everything she could. She studied business during the day. She read financial reports late into the night. She attended leadership meetings with a notebook in her lap, writing down every lesson. She built a premium bakery that quickly expanded into a successful chain of luxury cafes. Then she invested. 1 company became 3. 3 became 10. People admired her intelligence, her humility, and her determination. She never pretended to be someone else. She remained proudly plus size. She smiled in every magazine interview. And whenever a reporter asked about beauty standards, she always answered the same way. My body never stopped me from succeeding. Other people's opinions almost did. Beside her, little Noah grew into a bright, cheerful 7-year-old. He loved baking cookies with his mother. He adored Eleanor, whom he proudly called Grandma Ellie. One afternoon, Eleanor stood in her office looking out over the city skyline. Samuel entered quietly. The acquisition has been approved. Eleanor smiled. So it's official. Samuel nodded. Blackwood Holdings now belongs to Ashford International. Eleanor turned toward Olivia. It's time. Across the city, panic spread through Blackwood Holdings. Employees whispered in hallways. Board members rushed between offices. No one knew why an emergency meeting had been called. Inside the boardroom, Adrian adjusted his tie nervously. His company had struggled for years. Poor investments. Declining profits. Investors pulling out. Even his confidence had begun to disappear. Vivian sat beside him. They're sending a representative. Adrian sighed. As long as they don't replace management. The conference room doors slowly opened. Every conversation stopped. High heels echoed against the polished floor. 1, 2, 3. Then she appeared. Olivia. She wore a beautifully tailored navy blue suit. Her confidence filled the room before she spoke a single word. She hadn't become smaller. She had become stronger. The room fell completely silent. Adrian's eyes widened. Olivia? She acknowledged everyone with a polite nod. Good morning. Vivian's face turned pale. No, it can't be. Olivia calmly took the seat at the head of the table. The seat that once belonged to Adrian. She placed a folder in front of her. My name is Olivia Hart. A slight smile crossed her face. Chairwoman of Ashford International. No one moved. No one spoke. Adrian could barely breathe. She looked directly at him. It's been a long time. He stood slowly. I don't understand. You will. She pressed a button on the remote. Financial reports appeared on the large screen. For the next 20 minutes, Olivia presented detailed evidence. Poor decisions. Failed acquisitions. Unnecessary spending. Declining investor confidence. Every chart pointed to one conclusion. Blackwood Holdings had been sinking for years. She never raised her voice. Never insulted anyone. She simply presented facts. When she finished, she closed the folder. As majority shareholder, I've approved a complete restructuring. The board members nodded. One by one. The vote was unanimous. Olivia looked at Adrian. Effective immediately. She paused. You are relieved of your duties as chief executive officer. Silence. Adrian stared at her. Not with anger. With disbelief. I built this company. Olivia answered calmly. And now someone else has to save it. Just then, the boardroom door opened again. A cheerful little voice echoed through the room. Mom. Noah ran straight toward Olivia. She smiled warmly and knelt to hug him. Hey, sweetheart. I finished school early. I'm proud of you. Noah wrapped his little arms around her neck. I missed you. Adrian couldn't stop staring. The little boy had his eyes. His smile. Even the tiny dimple on his left cheek. His entire world seemed to stop. He whispered. How old is he? Olivia stood. 7. Adrian staggered backward. 7. Exactly 7 years. His eyes filled with tears. His voice trembled. He's mine, isn't he? Olivia didn't answer immediately. She simply rested her hand on Noah's shoulder. Finally, she nodded once. Yes. The room felt unbearably quiet. Vivian slowly sat back in her chair. Her hands began shaking. My grandson, she whispered. Oh God. Noah looked around innocently. Mom. Olivia smiled softly. It's all right. She looked back at Adrian. You gave up the chance to know him the night you chose silence. Without another word, she took Noah's hand and walked out of the boardroom. Adrian couldn't move. For the first time in his life, money couldn't solve his problem. A week later, there was a quiet knock on Olivia's office door. Come in. Vivian entered alone. No designer handbag. No expensive jewelry. No arrogance. She looked older, smaller somehow. I came to apologize. Olivia remained silent. Vivian lowered her head. I spent years believing appearance was everything. My pride cost my son his family. And it cost me 7 years with my grandson. Tears rolled down her face. I was wrong. Olivia spoke gently. I waited a long time to hear those words. Vivian nodded. I know. She quietly walked away, not asking for forgiveness, simply accepting responsibility. A few days later, Adrian asked Olivia to meet him at the small park where Noah loved feeding ducks. He stood waiting with nervous hands. When Olivia arrived, Noah ran toward the playground, giving them a little privacy. Adrian looked exhausted. I've rehearsed this conversation 100 times. Olivia folded her arms. And I was ashamed. He finally admitted. Not because of you. He shook his head. Because I cared too much about what everyone else thought. I convinced myself I was protecting my business. But the truth. His voice broke. I was protecting my ego. Olivia looked at him quietly. He wiped away a tear. When you left, I should have followed you. When you told me about our baby, I should have stood beside you. When my mother insulted you, I should have defended you. I failed you. And I failed our son. Olivia's eyes became emotional, but her voice stayed steady. You didn't lose me because I was fat. She took one slow step closer. You lost me because every single time you had to choose between me and public opinion, you chose public opinion. Adrian lowered his head. I know. He looked toward Noah, who was laughing happily on the swings. Do you think? He hesitated. I could ever earn the chance to be his father? Olivia watched Noah for a long moment. Then she answered honestly. Being his biological father happened 7 years ago. She looked back at Adrian. Becoming his dad starts today. Hope flickered in his eyes. But understand this. If you disappear again, you won't lose me. You'll lose him. Adrian nodded immediately. I won't. I swear. Months passed. Adrian kept every promise. He attended Noah's school events. He learned how to bake cookies. He helped with homework. Slowly, he became part of Noah's life. But Olivia never returned as his wife. Some wounds heal. Some lessons remain. 1 year later, Olivia stood on the stage of the National Business Excellence Awards, accepting the award for Entrepreneur of the Year. The audience rose to their feet in applause. Among them sat Adrian. Not in the front row as a billionaire CEO, just another guest. Watching proudly. Not hiding her. Not pretending she didn't exist. Simply applauding the remarkable woman he should have been proud of from the very beginning. As Olivia held up her award, she smiled at Noah in the audience. That smile wasn't for revenge. It wasn't for success. It was for the life she built after refusing to let someone else's shame become her own. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Do you think Olivia made the right decision by not taking Adrian back? Share your answer with a yes or a no, and tell us why. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional stories that remind us all that real love is never something to be hidden.